U.S. and Russia officials are gathered in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia today for talks to end the Russia-Ukraine war, the highest profile talks since the invasion, the Ukraine invasion itself. Ukraine's Prime Minister, Volodymyr Zelensky, has criticized his exclusion from the gathering. Join us now, Victoria Coates, who served as Deputy National Security Advisor in the first Trump administration. She is now Vice President of the Heritage Foundation's Davis Institute for National Security and Foreign Policy. Victoria, do you think that Zelensky should assume that the United States will have its interests in mind, or is it a genuine concern that the United States talking to Russia? It's like, hey, why am I not there? You guys can make deals where I don't know if my interest is being represented. Is that a true concern, do you think? I might be worried.
Well, good morning, Joe. And yes, I think it's perfectly natural that President Zelensky would be deeply interested in the substance of the talks in Riyadh. But at the same time, I think this is also a critical moment for Secretary Rubio to sort of take the measure of Foreign Minister Lavrov, who's been in his position for some 20 years. And, to have these talks take place in a neutral environment like Riyadh, I find it interesting that what we have here are the world's three largest energy producers kind of gathered together. So I think that'll be an interesting topic of conversation as well. But hopefully President Zelensky heard President Trump say yesterday that, of course, Ukraine will be deep in consultations before anything's decided. So I would see this as more of a get-to-know-you kind of meeting.
Did you know the head of NATO, the Secretary General? How long has the latest individual been? I'm shocked at some of his comments were so pro-Trump, and I thought NATO just bristled every time Trump opened his mouth. Do you know this gentleman? Is it pronounced Rutte, Mark Rutte?
Rutte, yeah. He's the former Prime Minister of the Netherlands. He became Secretary General of NATO last summer, replacing Jens Stoltenberg, who actually came and spoke at Heritage this time last year, which surprised some people that this NATO Secretary General would come to our think tank. But, he said that President Trump in his first term had done more to revitalize NATO than any previous president. And I think that's the important message to our European partners and allies, as well as our Canadian partners, is, NATO holds its fate in its own hands. It is not Donald Trump that is causing trouble for NATO. It's NATO's own failure to invest sufficiently in its defenses over the last 30 years. And the real problem is math. The plans that they agreed to at the NATO summit last summer require a 3.5% investment of GDP in defense to make those plans realistic. And unfortunately, when you have a country like Canada, the 10th biggest economy on the planet, at 1.38, the math just doesn't add up. So NATO is going to have to take it into its own hands. I thought Secretary General Rutte's comments yesterday were very strong on that, but we'll see what they actually do.
I was shocked, saying I categorically reject I absolutely reject the criticism of President Trump's initiative. I think it's only right that he tries to end this war. But if I were Ukraine, I don't know. Let me ask something else about the rare earths and compensation. Does Russia already have the areas where a lot of the rare earth and the valuable resources are located?
Certainly the parts of Ukraine that Russia is in right now, particularly in the east, do have a lot of resources. But the whole country is very rich in these things. And I think this could be a way for the United States to actually, gain from this exchange with Ukraine, that it's not just disinterested charity on the part of U.S. taxpayers for this war effort, but rather an exchange between sovereign nations and a material we obviously badly need. As you start talking about, the kind of technologies we're going to be investing in for the next 50 years, this is mission critical. And so I think a very effective way to justify the war effort.
Well, what if the United States said, yeah, we're going to, we've helped Ukraine, but this was your fault, Russia. Now you've got a lot of these rich minerals. We want some recompense from you. as well. That might not go over well.
No, although I think, Russia is going to have to be held responsible for some of the terrible destruction that's taken place in Ukraine.
Yeah,
that'll be part. Yeah, it's part of the negotiations, I would assume, because that's a reality they're going to have to deal with.
So this is going to happen, you think, Victoria? You're optimistic that, I don't know, what do we call it, a deal? Are you optimistic there will be some type of end to the hostilities through a deal?
Well, I very much hope so. We'll be marking the 3rd anniversary of this war in a couple of days. That's been 3 grinding years. It's been close to $200 billion out of the United States alone. It really needs to come to a resolution. I don't think we should be fighting down to the last Ukrainian. So, as President Trump has said, we want the loss of life to end, the economic destruction to end, and so hopefully we'll be able to get to a resolution that persuades Putin that this is not something he should do again.